Go ahead and get started. My name is Janelle Veely, and I am with the Bureau of Planning at the Illinois Department of Transportation. Today's meeting is the virtual advisory group. It's our initial meeting with all of you folks who are very important in providing input and feedback regarding what we'd like to see in our state's long-range transportation plan. So this group, like I said, is so important. Illinois has such an extensive transportation network. It encompasses highways, bridges, airports, public transit, rail, passenger and freight, and more. And so this LRTP serves as our guiding document, a roadmap for policymakers, for transportation agencies, and other stakeholders to aid in the decision-making and funding, decision-making, funding allocation, and project prioritization. Next slide, please. So I just want to let everyone know this meeting is being recorded. So we have this live meeting today. And then on Wednesday, we have another live meeting from 5 to 6 for those who were unable to attend today's lunch hour meeting. But then we'll also have it recorded. So if those of you who want to come back and, revisit it and see what, more clarity on something you heard, or if you want to recommend it to someone else for them to view, it will be posted on our website. So we are just really happy to have everyone on this meeting today. Next slide. Okay, the agenda for today's meeting is we are going to introduce the project team who will be talking with you all today. Then we'll move into the overview of our long-range transportation plan. We'll discuss your role as an advisory group, and then also provide a progress update where we'll talk about our review of relevant transportation plans and our engagement efforts. After that, we'll move to polling and get your feedback on some items that you might want us to consider as we move forward with the long-range transportation plan process. And then we'll wrap it up with next steps. Next slide. All right, as I said, I'm Janelle Veely with the Department of Transportation, Bureau of Planning. I am working with a great team in the Bureau of Planning. We are working on a ton of different plans regarding all different modes of transportation, but this long-range transportation plan is our umbrella plan and is really important to set the stage as we move forward. I will then like to pass it on to Bree. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Bree Tenholzen and I'm at HDR.
Can't hear you, Bree.
Oh.
No. Is it just me?
I could hear Bree.
Well, Bree, she is on the HDR team and she is in charge of our communications efforts and putting together all these different items for us as we move forward to get the feedback from all of you folks. Julie? Oh, it's my speaker having the issue? Okay, sorry.
Hi, I'm Julie
Can you all hear
Malachik.
me though?
Let me message Janelle quickly. Hold on. Sorry.
And then Jason.
Hi, everyone. Jason Carby. I'm a transportation planner with HDR, helping the department work on this plan. Really nice to speak with you all today.
While Janelle gets her.
Well, I'm going to turn this on over to Jason as I fix my speaker issue.
You're good.
Jason, you want to take over? Thanks.
Got ya. Go ahead, Bree.
I was just going to finish my introduction. I've been the public involvement lead kind of engagement on the engagement side for this project. And then Julie, if you wanted to get a chance to introduce yourself, feel free.
Hi, my name is Julie Malachik. I'm also with HDR. I'm helping on the webinar production side. So if any of you have any kind of technical difficulties, such as not being able to hear us or see the presentation, feel free to chat me directly and I will help troubleshoot.
It wouldn't be a webinar without the technical difficulties, would it?
Nope.
And Janelle, when you get your sound back, go ahead and let us know, and we'll let you jump right back in.
I
So,
sure got it.
oh, okay. Do you want to do these slides then?
Sure, sure. All right. I'm sorry about that, folks. So yes, our Move Illinois 2024 plan, we have, it's an update of our 2019 plan. So by state statute, we do update our plan every 5 years. This is a policy-based plan. It is not a project-specific plan. It's really just a very high-level plan, and it is, like I said, the umbrella for the suite of plans. I want to point out again, we have a lot of plans that are under development right now. We're just kicking off our statewide public transportation plan, which is on the bottom there. Our state freight plan we've wrapped that up. It's a very important plan for the state because we are actually, Illinois is a vibrant and thriving hub for freight. We have over 147,000 miles of roadway. We have over 10,000 miles of railroad tracks and 1,118 miles of navigable waterways. So, freight is really important to Illinois and our economy here, as well as throughout the nation. Another plan we have going on is our active transportation plan that you may have heard of or provided feedback for already. That one, it's a very important plan as we really try to emphasize safety, equitable infrastructure and context-sensitive solutions for getting our users of the roadway who are most vulnerable out there to get their voices heard and integrated into our plans. But like I said, this is not a project-based plan, and it is, getting everyone's voices heard. For us to hear everyone's voices. So we're going to keep working on all these plans. They're all important. Those are just a couple that we're working on right now. And then as we move forward with this Move Illinois 2024 LRTP. Thanks. Next slide. All right, and so where we're at in this process, so if you want to take the survey really quick, you can use your phone and scan the QR code, and our survey is not incredibly long. I think it's about 30 questions, maybe less. And then we do have a project website, and that is www.moveillinois2024.com. And we tried to get Move Illinois just by itself, but it's a lot more expensive. So to save money, we went with 2024 because that's when we will have the plan completed and published. So we're here in phase 1. It's wrapping up this month. So we have our survey open through December 31st. To date, we already have over 27,000 survey responses, which is amazing. We're so excited about that. But we would love to hear more thoughts and get more input from the public and our stakeholders. We're also holding online meetings. So this is our first virtual stakeholder meeting, and we'll have several more throughout the phases of the project. And then we will use what we learn in phase 1 to figure out, what are our objectives and how can we set our goals. And then in phase 2, that's where we look into strategy identification and assessment. We'll be doing another survey that was informed by our first survey, and then having another online public meeting. So that'll wrap up in May of 2024. From May to December, we will be in phase 3, and that's where we'll draft the final plan recommendations. We'll have another online meeting and another survey to really tease out what we need to include in this plan. Next slide, please. All right, so what is the role of the virtual advisory group? Like I said, you're so important in this process. As a member of the stakeholder group, you will have an opportunity to provide input on transportation goals, objectives, and priorities. You'll be able to share your valuable local knowledge and perspectives, and also collaborate with other stakeholders, planners, and community leaders, and therefore really help shape the future of transportation in our state. Next slide. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jason. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Janelle. So we discussed, but as part of the technical team, assisting the department with this plan, in its role as an umbrella plan for all of those other IDOT plans that Janelle touched on, we're incorporating all of the work that's been done across those range of modes, range of programs, and all those systems to create an all-encompassing set of goals, objectives, policies, strategies that'll really make up this plan. And so, part of this has been going through and, there's been a lot of good planning work done in the state and kind of reviewed that, range of different plan sources. Obviously, with the state and federal legislation, I think one of the big things there, obviously, is the bipartisan infrastructure law. That's been a kind of a big change. We did review other upper Midwest state long-range transportation plans as well, looking for some, best practices, things that might make sense for Illinois. Went across all of those range of plans that Janelle touched on. Also, I know a lot of you represent some of our partner agencies. And so there's a range of studies and plans that can kind of help us inform, what direction policies and strategies are going all across the state. We're going to talk and touch on kind of our multi-track engagement approach. We'll touch on that in the upcoming slides. We're also kind of going through and using a data-driven transportation system update to see where the system kind of stands today and starting to draft goals and performance areas. So the 2019 Long Range Transportation Plan is what we're building on. This is an update to that plan. That plan had 5 different goal areas: economy, livability, mobility, resiliency, and stewardship. And from some of our initial findings of the current phase, that safety continues to grow as an area of emphasis, and it's really of the highest importance to our industry. And I think the last plan, recognized that and integrated safety across multiple goal areas. But the thought that maybe it could be elevated to its own goal area for this plan is something that we're considering for this goal update. I think the Rebuild Illinois passage in 2019 did a nice job of addressing maintenance of aging infrastructure, and it's been huge for the state and really important. As we continue looking forward, though, obviously maintenance is going to be of our existing infrastructure is one of our most critical areas, and continue looking at that. Funding continues to be an issue with motor fuel taxes and the transition to more efficient vehicles. How do we kind of address some of those gaps? Integrating equity, and I think Janelle touched on this, and we're going to talk some more about this, but just ensuring that everyone is sharing in the benefits of transportation investments, and also that the the negative aspects of transportation don't necessarily or just don't disproportionately impact certain populations. And technological change is clearly something that seems to be evolving in transportation and rapidly accelerating. Some of the key areas that, again, we're looking at as we go through this, looking for goals, objectives, performance measures, issues and gaps, again, as we review these other plans, what are we looking for? And some of the strategies and recommendations. And then also, as we, again, touch on that equity, how do we integrate equity into everything that we do in developing this plan? So we're going to touch on a little bit of the engagement to date and talk about some of the direction that it's gone. It's really put an emphasis on engaging and identifying a range of opportunities to engage with stakeholders in the public across the state. We've had in-person events, we've done some virtual outreach, and we've talked about some of that surveys, and we touched on the fact there's 2 more surveys coming as well. Workshops, this virtual advisory group is one of those key engagement elements. And also kind of, developing a diversity inclusion working group as well within IDOT. So as we've noted, the survey is open now through the end of this month. And we already have 2,700 responses so far. I've been really happy with some of the traction we've gotten with that. And so we're really trying to get everybody to weigh in on that. But we, understand that we also need to, go where people are and have those quality conversations with them in person. And so we've been at these 9 events that we outline here. We've been to the Illinois State Fair, the Du Quoin State Fair, and then made sure that we were in, and we'll talk a little bit about this, but identifying, neighborhoods where traditionally folks might not have been as engaged in the transportation planning process. And so found, where could we be in person to engage with potential equity populations. So we've got the Garfield Park Neighborhood Market in Chicago, Kankakee Farmers Market, the Quad City Farmers Market in Rock Island. Did a bike ride in Danville that was occurring. Old Capitol Farmers Market in Springfield. We'll talk a little bit about this, the Fall Planning Conference in Springfield as well, but also the Farmers Market in Carbondale. So that's been kind of through our first range of elements here. And so again, we talked about this equity approach. And so working with IDOT, we developed an equity atlas that's essentially allowed us to target those in-person events to communities across the region. And organizing an IDOT equity working group. I'm going to really quick try to pull up and show you kind of what this tool looks like. And you can see that, it allows us to go through the state, kind of evaluate different demographic characteristics. For instance, here, we're showing ACS English limited English proficiency, basically. And then you can also look at a range of other socioeconomic characteristics. We've got poverty status. And so we were able to kind of use this as a tool for kind of identifying what some of those opportunities where we can engage with folks that have traditionally been underrepresented in this process. And again, at those pop-up events that we showed, we really tried to get where the people were and have some real conversations, gave the districts the opportunity to talk about some of the projects that were occurring in each of them. And really building plan awareness, but also an opportunity to give kind of in-person feedback on, what's going well and what could be improved. Janelle, did you want me to cover this one or did you want to do this one?
No, you could go ahead.
Okay. So one of the other opportunities, and we probably spoke with several of you at that conference, but at IDOT's Fall Planning Conference, we had the opportunity to really talk with a bunch of other agency staff who are really involved, in planning, and basically sat down and had kind of workshops where we talked about baseline transportation issues and opportunities. We had basically 9 different stations that focused on different potential goal areas or different elements of the transportation system, and had some facilitated discussions, some potential questions, but really a lot of times they were just really easy conversations to have. Talked with participants for 5 minutes at each station. We had 5 different, we rotated through and had a lot of great conversations with transportation professionals. And we've kind of gone through, and that kind of helped us also kind of establish this phase 1 sort of, goals and issues and opportunities phase. So Bree, you want to dive in here?
Yep. So we told you guys a little bit about our public survey, and now we want to give you guys a chance to answer a couple questions from it. So we're going to use menti.com as a tool for this interactive activity. So assuming most of you are on computers right now, you can use your smartphone's camera to scan this QR code. Or if you have multiple screens and you want to do this on another screen, you can just go to menti.com and enter the code 2363004. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to share my screen. It should look very similar. Jason, can you see my instructions screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So once you get to this on your browser, it should kind of look weird. It should just say instructions with a thumbs up. So feel free to get a thumbs up when you're in there. And I will just wait to see how many we get on. Jason, can you tell me how many people it shows you we have for attendees right now?
We are at, oh, hold on one second, sorry. We are 126.
126. Okay, I'll hopefully wait till we maybe get into the hundreds on our thumbs ups, and then I will go ahead and start the activity. So we're at 74, 76. And this activity will give you a couple warm-up questions just to get used to using this tool and kind of learn more about you guys that are all attending here today and where you're from. And then we're going to run you through the first 3 questions of our survey and get your guys' opinions there, talking about goals, modes of transportation, biggest issues. And then we'll end with kind of a visioning question, word cloud. That should be pretty fun. And then we'll show you the responses that we have currently from our survey takers. So we'll kind of compare this group's thoughts to the public's thoughts. And that'll be the activity. Then we'll switch it back over to Jason to close out the presentation. We're at
getting close.
96. Yes. Sometimes you throw out a number and then you're not quite sure if you're going to get there. So I will go ahead. I round up.
Okay.
So if people keep joining, they can definitely still participate. On your device, you'll just want to go to the screen that I'm on. So our first question is, where do you live? So we do have a map on the right side in case you are not familiar with IDOT's 9 districts or the 5 regions. So feel free to take a look at the map and mark where you are. We got a lot of District 1 and 2 right now. District 5, 6. Nice. So mostly District 1, 6, and 2. And 5. It's hard to narrate these real-time responses. Awesome. We got about 90 responses there, so I will go ahead and move on to the next question. Thank you for responding. And feel free to chat Julie if you're having any difficulties with this activity. She is there to help. Our next question is, what organization do you represent? So we've got a couple different categories here. City/county government, state government, federal government, regional agencies, nonprofits, businesses, consultants, and general public. And if you're not one of these categories, feel free to send it in the chat if you're comfortable. So right now I'm seeing a lot of regional agencies and city and county governments. We've also got state governments, nonprofits, and general public. It's kind of just nice to know who we're talking to. Thank you all for being here. Perfect. Okay, we've got a good amount of responses, so I'll move on to our next question. And if you're behind, feel free to keep answering, no rush. Our next question that I'll screen share is, what goals do you believe Move Illinois should prioritize? So you can select up to 5, and I already saw we had some great conversation flowing in the chats. Feel free to mark your answers here so we can get kind of a group consensus. So the categories here are active transportation, economy, equity, livability, mobility, resiliency, safety, stewardship, and all are equally important to me. This is the same question that we had number 1 on our survey. And we kept 5 of the goals that were from the last LRTP. And then we added a couple extra. And right after this question on our survey, we asked if any goals we didn't mention, we had an option for other, where people could fill in what those goals could be. So we're looking forward to diving into those results and seeing if we missed anything that people think we should consider. Looks like our top goals from this group are safety, active transportation, and livability coming in pretty close in that 3rd place spot. 4th is mobility and 5th is equity. Awesome, thank you guys. I'll go to our next question. So we have, what modes of transportation do you use most often? And here you can select 3. Our categories are active transportation, which would include biking, walking, rolling. We've got air travel, commercial and private, automobiles, cars, trucks, and motorcycles, bicycle sharing and scooter sharing programs, public transit, which would be buses, trains, light rail, streetcars, ride sharing and carpooling, taxis and ride hailing. Looks like right now automobiles is up top with active transportation next and public transit. We also included those electric scooters since that's becoming more and more popular nowadays. Awesome. Looks like automobiles, active transportation, and public transit take the lead. I'll move next. This is the third question of our survey. So what are the biggest transportation issues in our community, in your community? You can select 3. So the options here: challenges in enforcing traffic laws and regulations, limited carpooling options, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and connections, traffic safety, public transit access to service and jobs, poor condition of existing roads, sidewalks, or infrastructure, vehicle congestion, weather conditions. And we had a good point when we brought this up with our IDOT leadership group, is that maybe you see different transportation issues in the community that you work, and then different issues in the community you live, and different issues in the communities you visit. So feel free to just classify the top 3 that you're seeing statewide. With the statewide plan, we kind of have to take a look high level. So it's great to hear all the different answers from everyone, everywhere. Looks like our top answers right now are pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and connections, poor condition of existing roads, sidewalks, or infrastructure, and then pedestrian and bicycle safety. Those are top 3, and I think we just hit about 100. So I will move on. This is our last Menti question. So what is your vision for the future of Illinois transportation in about 3 words or less? Feel free to send your response, and we should get a word cloud up on the screen when we get enough responses. Active, connected, safe. This one is always fun to watch because I can't really read them. I'm moving around.
Keep shuffling.
It feels like the activity where you're trying to see which ball has the cup underneath, or which cup has the ball underneath it. And we've got safe. It's really staying constant in the middle, connected, active, sustainable, equitable. Nice. We're at about 70, so I'll keep letting people submit them as they think.
This one's always a little bit harder with a blank sheet of paper rather than 3 things to pick from. We might need a little extra time to come up with your 3 words here, we understand.
Yeah, these are great answers.
And we are
Safe.
seeing a core of about 4 or 5 that tend to stay
Mhm.
in the middle there.
Yeah, safe has not moved.
Want to give it 1 more minute, maybe?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it change much.
I will read off the top couple. So definitely safe, active, connected, efficient, inclusive.
See sustainable,
Yes,
equitable.
reliable. Awesome. We are about at 100, so I will go ahead and give the screen share back to Jason. Thank
Okay.
you all for participating.
All right. So as we mentioned, that we're going to give some preliminary kind of results from that survey. Again, we've had about 2,700 responses, and so we were kind of just share with you kind of where we're at with that. Again, it's still open, and it's still got about 3 more weeks. But I think I saw some very similar answers in terms of the goals. What were the top goals that survey respondents were most interested in? You can see here we've got, if you look at the top 4, I think they match pretty closely with the top 4 with this group, where it's safety, active transportation, mobility, connecting people where they live through all modes of transport, and livability. And so you can see those all ranged from about 14 to 17% through there. Bree, those matched up pretty well with what we heard on that last survey, correct?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Top issues that we saw, I think I saw some parallels here. So if you look at those top 3 in the pie chart across the top, Pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure and connections was the top vote getter. Making sure we keep infrastructure and bridges and roads in good condition. So, you know, talking about those conditions. Pedestrian and bicycle safety as well. We're in those top three. And then I see the public transit access to services and jobs was number 4 there. Bree, how did our group come out with this question?
So we're the exact same for the top 3. And then our 4th is traffic safety with public transit access coming in next. So very similar.
Okay. And then I actually skipped the first one. The modes were similar. We had, and I think this probably not a surprise that the top 3 would be automobiles, active transportation, and public transit. I think in most of our cities, those would be the most common vote getters. So the word cloud exercise was kind of fun. I like that. It was kind of neat to see in real time how those changed. The big takeaway from here is that we do have open-ended questions similarly on the survey, and we are going through and working to categorize those into 2,700 survey responses, and we're trying to turn all of that into something interpretable, right? So going through and these are just a collection of a few of the things that we've heard, but I think the big takeaway here, they're still coming in and we're still categorizing them and hope to have those results in January. So, and I saw some of this chat, and I know Janelle, you and I had talked about trying to facilitate this a little bit, but I saw this in the chat earlier when Bree was presenting, and I really appreciated that. I liked how folks were kind of putting in the chat different goal areas their organization has for their overall transportation plans. We've got 2 kind of different questions here. We've got, what unique goals might your organization have? We talked about some of those key ones on the on some of those survey questions, but if your organization has recently done a transportation plan, maybe put some of your main goal areas into the chat or something unique. I don't know, Janelle, anything you'd add here?
Yeah, no, that we would really appreciate it if you would put that, or any ideas or concepts or best practices that you've seen, here, or if you've been traveling and you see it in other places that you think Illinois should look into. Go ahead and write those in the chat, or you can email us at dot.moveillinois@illinois.gov.
And I did see there was a question about whether traffic safety included bicycle and pedestrian safety earlier. And, they are I think they're part of the same performance measure, but we did have separate questions for traffic safety versus bicycle and pedestrian safety. Again, is a little bit of a focus area.
Different answer choices, not questions, you mean, right?
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Yep. They're different. So you could kind of focus down a little bit more on overall traffic safety versus bicycle and pedestrian safety. But again, they are all part of a complete streets environment and just making sure that we've got safe system for all of our users.
There's some really good ideas in here and suggestions.
Okay, great. Yeah, Janelle, I can't see them. Are you anything that you wanted to kind of
Yeah,
focus
and
on
this has
before we
been,
wrap up?
yeah, several people have talked about how, maybe they'd like to walk or ride a bike to work or shopping, but it's really not feasible where they live, that they have to use a car. So, and we at IDOT, we've been really prioritizing the fact that we're not just infrastructure, we're not just infrastructure, we're multimodal. We've got waterways, we've got, freight, rail, just all different sorts of modes of transportations, that we have to look at all of them, and we have to consider all of them. And the safety, like that's, the fact that keeps coming up, safety as the number 1, I think is really just because we didn't call it out in our last plan. We didn't have a goal of safety. I mean, because safety should just be, our ingrained. So but maybe by calling this out more, we can make a difference. So it's really cool to see all this. I'm really excited. Yes, more public transportation options. I've been seeing a lot more mobility hubs here in Springfield. They're putting together a mobility hub where it's more, everything's together. There's not a separate bus station, a separate train station. They're moving it where it's together. And there's a lot of other areas, like Rockford has one. I know others have the mobility hubs. And then one other thing that someone suggested was go where the people are. So to get their input, so go to the train stations, go to the bus stations, and to get those more boots on the ground responses. So actually, when we now are fully staffed here at IDOT in our Bureau of Communications, and we've been working with them to go out, because we have people all throughout the state, communications people, where we can go to those venues or areas and ask for survey responses, or just tell us what you think. And so we're going to be working on that as we move forward in this LRTP planning phase.
And I
Yes.
think oh, go ahead, Janelle.
Well, someone mentioned the multi-year plan, and yes, so this document, being that it's more of a visionary document with long range, it'll help inform that. It'll help identify what our goals are, and that will inform our multi-year plans. And that's where it's more project specific.
All right, and I think I did hear there's a few other questions we might need to follow up on, kind of buried in the chat. So if you didn't get your question answered, we'll make sure we do get to, we'll follow up with individual responses to a few of these.
I did want to mention really quick, there was the comment about District 1 not just being Chicago, and that's a great point, because in the city of Chicago, yes, you could have more access to walking to and from, but when you're in the suburbs, you might be able to walk down to your the downtown area of your town or your city, and but how do you get to work if you're working an hour away? Excuse me. So, those are definitely things that we will consider. So we don't just look at urban and rural, we also look at the in-between. And that is something that we've been trying to stress, that we want to hear all voices. If you use any sort of transportation, we need to consider it. Thank you. All right, Jason, you want to take over?
Yeah, so next step. So we do have at least 2 more touch points where we want to check in with you all and kind of maybe revisit some of the things we heard this time from you. But then in the next phase, we're really going to take all of this this input and this data assessment, and looking at all of the peer agencies, in other states, what can we learn from them? What I love some of the chat things I saw come across. Really interested in what some of those unique kind of goal areas. And so how do we take all of this input and this kind of overarching direction that this first phase gets us, and how do we start putting some more concrete steps together, this list of strategies, and how do we kind of create that policy-based plan in the next phase? So we'll be starting to look at different strategies and priorities, looking for feedback on some of those. And then basically then at the end of phase 2, we start kind of assembling that plan based on those priorities. And then the third phase is where we start to draft all of that, have it all come together, and create, plan recommendations to be released in the, that second half of 2024 for public review and comment before it's published, by the end of the year. I don't know, Janelle, you want to wrap us up?
Sure. So yes, thank you all for joining us. Again, if you think of someone who might want to participate in this, please feel free to share the WebEx link that that is on our Facebook, or it's on our page, our moveillinois2024.com page to register. And, you know, all the comments are so great to hear and for us to consider. And, you know, this is your opportunity to provide your thoughts and ideas on how we can improve transportation in Illinois. If to wrap up, I again, just please let people know that, you know, we are looking for your responses. We're looking for people to take our surveys. And we'll be at various venues in the spring. We'll have that posted on our website where we'll be in the spring. And we will then we'll be at the Illinois State Fair and then the DuQuoin State Fair in the summertime too. So we're going to keep getting information. We're going to keep asking for feedback. And we just appreciate all of that. And, you know, we recognize there's so much going on in terms of planning throughout the state and lots of surveys. But again, thank you very much for providing your time and your ideas and your experiences with transportation in the state. If you need any further information, or if you're interested in presenting some of this at your own communities, events, or if you're interested, I know we have several metropolitan planning organizations and others. You know, we could provide you know, the PowerPoints or whatever, or we're more than welcome to speak at your events as well. So we're more than happy to speak at your events as well. So just reach out to us and we'll share what we have. With that, we'll give you about 15 minutes of your time back today. We do appreciate you, and just reach out if you have any thoughts or ideas, and we'll let you go. Thanks so much, everyone. It was a great conversation. Bye.
Bye, everyone.